my phone up. Just wait for it to show up.
There we go.
Let me see. There we go. Perfect. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for popping in and saying yes. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. Good evening. My name is Jemima Donaldson, and I'm here with two absolutely amazing women who are smashing their businesses. I do need to make some apologies for the beautiful Karen. She was all set to jump on. However, she's come down with a bit of a sudden illness. But I will bring her on at a later time. So I have Christina with me, and I also have Tracy. What I'll do is I'll get you individually to pop out and say hello. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you come to where you are today. So Christina, I'll ask you to jump out first, and I'll just mute down while you do that as well.
Okay. All right, great. Hi, everyone, and happy to be here. Thanks, Jemima, for inviting me. So my name is Christina Maningo. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach. And so kind of my journey is I've been in health and wellness pretty much my whole life. I was an athlete growing up, so as a gymnast all the way through grade school, high school, and college. So as you can imagine, food was at the forefront of everything, food and wellness in general. Well, I shouldn't say wellness in general, just food and exercise are the two things that back then anyone was ever concerned with. And so I always had kind of a background in it. It was always something that interests me. I changed careers a couple of times, and then I realized that even it not being my business, this was something that I was really interested in for my own health. And I became a yoga teacher like 10 years ago because I've been practicing. And then I became a health coach because it was it was the next thing to learn. You know, I learned the physical and the food, and then I learned the mental side through yoga, the spiritual, and then I just wanted to know a little bit more in depth with the food because I felt like that was the part that was kind of lacking. And then I realized that health coaching was way beyond that, right? So there's like Jemima's group, right? Mind, body, soul. Those are actually also my pillars in the way I coach, because it is that trinity of the three things that really have an impact on your health. So kind of through the years, for me, I didn't have any dramatic like physical ailment. A lot of coaches will have like some dramatic physical ailment, and that's what they're helping people with. For me, and that's why I think I really struggled with my target market. And then I realized what I'm here to teach people is to find that balance of just feeling energetic and healthy, even if there's not some dramatic like disease that you had to overcome. And over the years, I realized that I had established so many of these little habits that kind of created my life and the way my routine. And it was something that I was always kind of giving people advice. And I thought, okay, this is what I can teach, because I've seen way too many times, you know, people go on diets and they lose weight. You know, every diet works for a limited time. I mean, that's why it's there, right? You know, people go on keto. There's a lot of people losing weight on keto, on paleo, but a lot of these diets are not sustainable. So what I teach is lifestyle habit building, health hacks, really, essentially, because the people that I work with, I primarily work with women 35 to 65 who really don't have a lot of time, but feeling unhealthy, don't have energy, and just don't know what's wrong. Go to the doctor, and, you know, the doctor can't say anything. And it's really about lifestyle. So I teach these healthy habits that people establish over a period of time. And it takes time. You got to trust in the process. But it's something that I'm super passionate about because it's what's worked for me. And it's always a work in progress for me too. So that's kind of like my background with why I do what I do. I still teach yoga as well, because I think that's something that's super powerful as well for mental and physical well-being. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's amazing. And you are right. A lot of coaches do go through a period where that's what their groundbreaking thing is, and that's what we work off. So it's really good to hear, and for people out there who are listening, that it doesn't have to happen that way. There is different ways to go about it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Tracy, I'll get you to pop on out now and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story, and let everyone know how you became the coach that you are today.
Thanks, Jemima. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody. And Christina, I want to say thank you to you as well. I didn't realize how much we had in common. I had similar struggles, I have to say, because I didn't have this big illness that I've recovered myself from or anything like that. So that's kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So basically, I started off, well, I actually started off in accounting, which is kind of weird, and then went to social work, which is not a common pathway. But I started off doing social work and absolutely loved it, and worked in various different areas where, you know, creating a lot of change, both socially, like human rights type basis, and then individually and structurally and all of those things, and really loved it. Had my dream job for about 12 years, which was working with LGBT plus young people. So that's same-sex attracted, gay, lesbian, transgender, whichever language you all understand. And in the time that I did that, I also worked with their families and supported families to better understand them. And that, for me, it was an awesome job. Like I said, it was my dream job for the 12 years that I was doing it, making such a big difference in people's lives by just making small changes, or really just being there to hear people and allowing them the space to be heard, to be seen, and to find their true authentic selves, and, you know, share that with the world. So I went from there. I felt like there was more. And to be honest, I felt like there was, even though I loved the job, I'd gotten to the point where I was feeling like there was some limitations that were there because I was obviously employed, and I had to kind of do what the bosses wanted me to do in some senses. I mean, I had a lot of freedom, but I was ready for the next step. So I decided to, you know, what can I do? And I went and did health and wellness coaching as well, because I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted to support people to take that next step, not just solving problems, but actually, you know, stepping into their true authentic selves and living a fulfilled life in every aspect. So that kind of health, nutrition, and moving the body and all of those things went nicely with, I'm also a yoga teacher, and I promise I'm not just copying you. So they all kind of went together for me. And then I realized that, you know, the wellness journey comes so much from the emotional and psychological side of things, which is, you know, where I'd spent a lot of time, but I wanted to approach it from a different perspective. So I'm now more focused on transformational coaching, which can encompass all of the things, but it depends on what people are wanting and needing and where they are in their journey. So if, you know, for some people, the health side of things are what is creating barriers for them. For other people, particularly in the queer community or LGBT plus community, it can be, you know, old stories that are really keeping them stuck. It can be potentially they've come out of the closet, so to speak, but left a little bit of themselves behind. So I like to support them to, I guess, free their authentic selves. So I don't only work with that community, but that's the main part of the community that I work with. So wanting to support people to, I guess, access their inner strength to free that authentic self, because we all have both. It's just that we're not always in touch with them. So that's kind of me.
Oh, I love it. And I love that you ladies are on par as well. This is exciting. I didn't know this when I actually booked you guys in. I didn't know this. So this is pretty exciting. So that's amazing at the end of the day. And it's another case of, it doesn't have to be a life-changing moment to want to change lives. It doesn't have to be that crunch time. So my story is that. So I went through that. So that's what changed me, you know, and I have that impactful story where it happened to me. So I want to help people get through that. But it's good to get you guys on here and let people see that you don't have to have that to want to help people, and you don't have to have that to be able to help people. All right,
I
Christina,
think for me, it's the witnessing rather than, I mean, you know, I've had my own personal experiences, but witnessing the shift and witnessing, you know, people's lives light up in, you know, huge ways from small interactions, I think is for me. So the
Yeah,
witness rather than, you know, personally experience.
that's beautiful. Definitely. I love that. Christina, you were talking about diets, and I just want to come back to that because I have done so many diets in my life. It's not even funny. And I know that people who, you know, it is a later time at nights and many people might not be on, but they'll be watching the replay. They'll resonate with this. And I guess my question would be to you, you know, the defined difference between, you know, a diet will work, but if you can maintain it, it's a different thing. And what your mindset shifts might need to be. So what would be maybe your one or two top tips that you could give someone, you know, that is struggling with that at the moment, that may watch this and may resonate with you, just to give them that little bit of a boost to move forward?
Yeah, I think the big one with food is because time and time again, like well, I know the statistic in the US that 95% of people fail to stick to a diet. 95. And the diet industry is like a multi-billion dollar industry. So it's because everyone wants that quick fix, that pill. And it's because we actually think we can do more than we can when it's something like a bigger task. Or actually, let me take that back. When it's a smaller task, we think we can do more than we can. But when it's a bigger task, we look at it and we go, no, we can't. So like a lot of times we do these quick fix diets and they're just not sustainable. And because you're going from one thing to the other, like it's a complete 180. So my thing is to trust in the process. And you're probably not going to see the results right away. But my thing is just take one thing at a time. Like literally, water is probably the most important thing you can do for yourself. And it sounds ridiculous that can help you lose weight if that's an issue, if that's what you want, or to be healthier. But you know, between 40 and 60% of the world population is dehydrated, like chronically dehydrated. And when our body is, you know, 60, 70% water and our blood is 90% water, when we're depriving our body of all that water, we are just like a shriveled up, you know, prune, and our bodies are working so much harder now because our blood is then thicker, and then it's just your body, everything's working harder. And, you know, so you wonder why you're tired or you wonder why you're hungry. A lot of times dehydration presents itself as hunger. So my thing is, my biggest tip is to choose one thing. And that would be like my biggest things, really, if we're going to talk about just the food part, when you consume, it's water and making sure that you're getting enough water. So like if you're only drinking 5 cups of water a day, or even, I mean, surprisingly, if you monitor, you'd be shocked at how much you're actually drinking. Some people I know are like, oh yeah, I'm drinking plenty of water, and they monitor it's like 4 cups. That's not even close to what you need, right? Depending on where you live and your exercise, 8 to 12 cups, and of course your body size as well, your weight. But water, just focus on that solely. And so if you only drink 4 cups a day, drink 5 cups for a week. If you can do that, add on another cup. Don't go, okay, I got to drink 12 cups, because you're going to get to the point where you're like, I hate water, and then you're just going to stop. So my thing is, if you want long term, that's what you do. So we start with water, and I have to tell people, you got to trust the process. Water first, and I show pictures of people's, this lady. I don't know if you guys saw this. She did this. What do you call it? Just her own little test, and she drank, I don't even know how much, like 15 cups of water a day for a month. And she showed her before and after picture of her face, and it was astounding. Like it looked like she had Botox, and not to mention, and that's just the physical side, not to mention how she felt inside. So I would say baby steps is the thing. Water is the first thing. Second thing is vegetables. Getting to the point where half of your plate is vegetables. If you don't have any vegetables, don't start off with half. Go with, I'm going to have a few pieces, and then grow from there. And each week, like at least a week, doing it consistently. Those are my tips for food. Because, get this, if you consume, the reason why I have all these statistics is I just did a presentation recently about this. If you consume 100 calories over your baseline of what your body needs, by the end of the year, you can gain 10 kilos, 20 pounds. for just 100 calories. 100 calories, for example, is like, I don't know, like a candy bar is like 300 calories, just to, you know, give you an example. So that's just something to think about. That little changes can make the big difference. So trust in the process and don't expect it to be an overnight thing. So water and veggies, slowly, ultimately getting to half the plate. Those are my big things. And that's what works with all my clients. It really has made a big impact. And then it becomes a habit. And then you don't think about it anymore. If you do it slowly, it becomes a habit. And then it's not this big struggle. Like I actually get anxious if there's no vegetables, because I'm just so used to eating them now. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I can't have pizza. Like, where's a salad? Where's something? You get into that habit. And that's a big thing right now, this habit building, right? That it's kind of like the buzz words these days. So yeah, those are my tips. Excuse me.
I absolutely love that. And it's so true because, you know, you don't put weight on in a day. And I guess this is the biggest thing for people. They don't notice it as it's happening. They only notice it once it's happened, right? So they literally they want those same results in reverse, regardless, to the point that they just didn't see it happening. I love the water tip because I'm big on water as well. And I don't always drink enough water, but when I do, I can notice a difference in my own face. Yes. And in how I feel. And it's big. I'm big on it around being lethargic when I'm really tired, because my body just needs to fuel. So 100% agree with that one. It's an amazing tip. And it's probably one of the best that anyone can give. It's a beautiful tip. And veggies too. At the end of the day, I'm trying to get she's 12 now, 12-year-old to learn to eat veggies. That's a mission. So I might actually take your little bits at a time and go from that and see if we can sort of integrate it into her diet, because it's just, she drinks water, but she doesn't eat veggies.
Yeah, that's a big one with the kids, right? Sneak it in, puree it into the sauce.
Definitely. Tracy, so you mentioned your work around, you know, people bringing themselves out and becoming the best version of them, especially after an event where they felt like they couldn't be themselves. They had to pretend to be somebody else to tick the boxes in this society. I mean, we have come a long way. We still have a very long way to go. But what you do is incredible work, because at the end of the day, sometimes people need that guidance to know that it's okay to be 100% yourself. Now, so if someone was watching and they were struggling with their own identity at the moment, what would be your maybe one or two top tips around, you know, finding themselves and being able to express themselves in the best way that they can, but won't, you know, that won't put them out?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of ways I'd like to respond to that, if that's okay. So for people who are struggling with their identity in the sense that they're not out, they haven't shared with anybody or haven't shared with many people, then I think we need to be mindful about whether or not we encourage people to come out and share, because there's a whole bunch of things we need to consider, because once you have shared, you say something, you can't take it back. So for people who are maybe not out to anyone or very many people, I would suggest probably trying to choose a person or people that you can trust and be, you know, the most confident. So what we try and do is increase the amount of allies that we have. The more allies we have, the safer we're going to feel, the more support we'll have if we come up with any struggles or anything like that. And not hanging on to society's expectations around who should be told first or how somebody should be told. So one of the things, like I work a lot with parents as well, supporting them, and they're often offended or upset because their child of any age didn't tell them first. We have this expectation, of course you should tell your parents first. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. And it's not always true. It's not always because the parent's done anything wrong that might be the case. It's, you know, you've got more to lose. The more important the relationship is to you, the more you have to lose if things don't go right. So if there's a, you know, tinsy wincy little chance that something might not go right, then, you know, you're not going to do that. So telling people that you feel most comfortable and safest in relation to them being okay with it. So often for younger people in particular, it's a friend, because let's face it, young people of today are a little bit more switched on around sexuality and gender identity than some older people. So that's what I would say. And also the way that you tell them. I don't know about you both, but I kind of grew up in a world where if there was an important conversation to have, you have to have it face to face with a person. You don't do it over the phone, and you definitely don't do it by text message or email or write a letter. It's got to be a verbal conversation face to face. And I would say in relation to coming out to someone, that's absolutely not necessary. In fact, it can be a lot more helpful for both people, particularly if it's a really important relationship like your parents or a sibling or someone that is really important to you. Because if you do it in writing, however, whether it's a text message or a letter or email or whatever, it means that you both have the opportunity to have your own initial responses without the risk of causing any harm or hurt to each other. So whilst it goes against what we expect in society in a lot of ways, it's not like breaking up with someone. It's, you know, it's different because you want to continue to have that relationship. So we want to make sure that everybody is protected and able to have their own initial reactions and recover from that if need be, and then they can you know, come back together and reconnect once people have had a bit of space. So that would be my key advice for people who haven't come out. And for people who are struggling with their identity, what I find is they may not be conscious that they're struggling with their identity. So they might just feel stuck, or they might be you know, having struggles in different areas of their life and actually not really connect where that might be coming from. Or they might on some level, but not really own it, particularly people who have been out for a long time and, you know, feel like they're fairly confident and out and, you know, functional in the world, but for some reason they're stuck in one area. It might be in relationships, you know, intimate relationships. It might be within some family relationships or other things. And that's where I kind of came up with that idea around, you know, you come out of the closet, you might have come out of the closet 20 years ago, but have you left a little bit in there? Is there still a little bit in there hiding? And often people are not aware that that's the case, and they don't realize that's what's holding them back. So yeah, really I mean, it kind of takes, it's not really a simple answer. So, you know, that kind of takes some time and a bit of work to explore what's going on and where things are coming from. But that's where I like to work on that inner strength, because you're building up and you're working on your strengths, which can bring along any of the, you know, don't like to use the word weaknesses, but dragging out those little bits that maybe are hiding in the closet, because you feel stronger and more confident within yourself. So yeah, that's what I would say would be to try and work on what you see as your strengths, so that those other bits can come along on the journey as well.
Perfect. I love that. And you know what? It is so true what you said about back when we grew up and, you know, those serious conversations you'd have with your parents or you needed to talk to them. I remember when I was pregnant and I had to talk to my parents about it, and I was only 17. So, you know, and it's not a conversation you'd have over the phone. It's definitely not a conversation you'd write in a text message. Well, I don't even think texts were around back when I was that age, but that's fine. You know, and even emails were few and far between. I mean, computers didn't even really come around till I was nearly in my 20s, I think. So it is a very different day and age we live in now, but I do agree that the initial point of that conversation is like a buffer, I guess you could say, that protects both parties against anything, even if it's just a facial reaction, you know, because that can be just as hurtful as words. You know, you might be caught off guard.
Or a pause.
Yeah, that too, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So 100% agree, and that's such a great message to actually get out there, and I really love that you brought that to the forefront, because a lot of people would, you know, people do say that, oh, you need to have that conversation face to face. This is not a conversation you can do over the phone or via text message or via email or anything. But realistically, a conversation like this, which can save relationships that you're actually just trying to strengthen by allowing yourself to be who you are, can allow for that buffer for the reactions that really may not be bad, but the person receiving that reaction may interpret it as bad.
Yeah.
And it's just that bit of a buffer. So I love that. I really do. And I love the fact that you mentioned, so you've been out and it's about finding your core strengths. So we never like to think of anything as weaknesses. I mean, everything we can build on, and definitely being whoever you love, no matter whether it's a male, female, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's never a weakness. And as you said, you don't like to refer to it that way, but those strengths that they can build on, because it's a strength in its own right.
Can I just clarify for a second, Jemima? I wasn't talking about their sexuality being a weakness. I was just meaning we all have things that we're good at and things that we're not so good at. But I think when we talk about coaching or, growing ourselves or improving ourselves, we talk about improving our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I see it more valuable to focus on your strengths and just grow those, because anything that you see as a weakness, not your sexuality or gender identity, that you will just bring that along as well. But for someone who is same-sex attracted or gender diverse, when I talk about the things they might have left in the closet, the little bits, they might not be anything to do with their sexuality.
Yeah.
But it might be part of their identity and part of who they are that they didn't even realize that's, hasn't come out for whatever reason. And it's because all of them was locked in the closet, or a big chunk of them was locked in the closet. And when, they're kind of probably creeping out and, popping their toes out to see whether it's safe or not, and maybe not bringing all of it. So I just wanted to clarify that we're not saying sexuality or gender identity is a weakness at all.
No, perfect. No, I wasn't. I don't know. Sort of. I just was. I wasn't trying. Definitely not trying.
I just didn't know if I came across that way. I just wanted to make
sure.
No,
that's fine. Thank you for clarifying. No, that's perfect. At the end of the day, we all know that we all have weaknesses and we all have strengths. At the end of the day, however you want to talk about it in that sense. So it's beautiful to know that you're there to help people bring those strengths to life and really focus on those and helping them, I guess, bring their whole self to the party.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can really say, like when you're talking about whether they've left anything behind because of for whatever reason it is. And as you said, it couldn't be completely different to the situation at hand. It could be just something that they've forgotten about, or, this was more important at the time, and to help them be able to bring that to light and be their full potential is just amazing, by the way. So you both said that you do yoga. So I'd love to discuss about how important you think it is for mind and body to practice something like yoga, because I love yoga. So I know it is, for me, it's amazing. But as teachers, I guess, what would you, say your benefits were that you think would be really important to focus on something like that, and really put the time in for yourself, so your self-love, and what it can do for you, so physically and mentally. So whoever wants to jump in.
For me to go first, I'm off mute. So, I mean, for me, of course, it's absolute gold. I wouldn't be teaching if I didn't think it was for every part of you, obviously, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and of course, spiritually. I think what you get out of it is what you put in, and it depends on what types of yoga and what you're looking to get out of it. You've got, all sorts of different types of yoga, and some people are looking more of a spiritual connection. Some are more looking for the stretch and the strength, all of the different variations. For me, the reason I decided to teach was because I'd been on I think about a 10 or 15 year journey where I'd had a lot of back issues from pretty young. I didn't actually injure myself, didn't know why, still don't really know why, but yoga solved all of that for me. And for a long time I thought, oh yeah, so I'm stronger and I'm more flexible and I don't have a sore back anymore. But then I realized one day that actually this has changed my life, not just made me physically stronger and not in pain, but when you get on your mat, you leave your ego behind. So there's a saying that we don't take our ego onto a yoga mat, for example, and a yoga class has enabled me to be able to do that. So when I'm on my yoga mat, I don't compare myself to others. I don't compare myself to today to yesterday. I'm not competing with anybody or anything. I'm just going into, I'm able to get in touch with my inner self and really connect with, you know, everything that I'm feeling. And also I don't need to think, especially if I'm teaching. Yes, of course I need to think, but if I'm in a yoga class, I don't need to think, because I have a yoga teacher telling me, and I can 100% focus on my body and my heart and what I need. And you know, I just walk out of a yoga class, whether I've taught it or whether I've practiced it myself, I will always walk out feeling much better on every level.
Yeah, I totally agree with what I'm going to start with what you just said, because interestingly enough, like COVID hit, I used to teach twice a week group classes here in the Philippines. Then COVID hit, everything shut down, and I was like, okay, not doing anything. And then I thought, oh no, I can't do online, because I didn't do online, right? That just seemed weird. I'm very hands-on when I teach, so that was really, yeah, that was really hard for me. I also do myofascial release with soft silicone balls, so that's also like, I need to be there for that. So I resisted doing the online, but it was one of the best things that I could have done, because for them, like, I actually have the same people come every week or twice a week, super consistent. They're like, this is the one thing that keeps me sane. And for me as well, there are times when I'm like, oh, like, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to cancel. And they go, no, I can't let them down. And like you said, Jemima, like afterwards, I'm just like, I feel so much better. Like my illness or whatever it is went away. Maybe it was like in my head, who knows? But like, it's the one thing that's been consistent that I am proud of, that I've done through this entire time. You know, that's the one thing. The thing with yoga is really interesting. And because we used to have arguments with the teachers, they get really angry, because when I first started teaching, it was in Singapore. And, you know, everyone's there for physical. And all the other teachers are trying to pound into the students the mental and the spiritual side of it, and didn't like seeing it for the physical side. And what I've experienced and what I've learned is, hey, at least they're coming to class. You know, it's going to affect them mentally. Eventually they'll come around. And I think that having that attitude, I let go of any, you know, ideas about what people were thinking with the physical. Like, yeah, I used to teach a very, very strong practice, handstands, you know, arm balances, all sorts of crazy things. And then now my practice is a little bit different. And of course I attract a different group of people. But what I think is so powerful about yoga is, because I teach myofascial release, and what, for those of you that don't know what that is, fascia is like the connective tissue that is underneath your skin, that completely covers your body. It's what keeps everything intact. And it also surrounds your muscles as well, and individual muscle fibers. So it's all around your body. It's like the structure that keeps everything in. It's also the thing, if you don't move, that tightens up. So as we age, we see older people that have this hunchback. That is not bone for most people, unless they were born that way. It is fully soft tissue. I've seen a 7-year-old woman who had a massive hunchback in a year have the best posture I've ever seen. So anyways, I do myofascial release because it kind of accentuates what a yoga class, you are working on your fascia as well. You're stretching, you're doing it. But what myofascial release does is, I think it's a little bit quicker. That's why I like to incorporate them both in. And the more I've studied myofascial release, it's insane, because what we do, the thing that's great about yoga is what we do. If you're stressed, and stress is manifested in the body, tight shoulders, shortness of breath, tight hips, you come to yoga. So that's the mind affecting the body. You come to yoga, you release those areas, and then it sends a message to the brain, hey, we're not in a stressful situation anymore, because the body has relaxed. So then it sends a signal to the brain to say, hey, let's relax. And this is why, like, exercise, yoga, relax people and de-stress them, right? And so myofascial release and breathing do both. So that's why I'm like such a fan, because there is they've just come out with some new stuff. I don't know why I'm all about studies today, but it came up with another study with fascia that it is the fascia has its own communication system outside of the nervous system, which was a mind-blowing thing that was discovered about 1.5 years ago. Or maybe it's 2 years now because of COVID, but can't keep track. But less than 2 years ago, it came out. And they realized the importance of fascia because right now with autopsies, they cut open the body and they peel all the fascia away. And they're like, let's get to the organs, let's get to the bones and the joints. When in fact, the fascia is a massive communication system. It also works with our lymphatic system, our immune system. So these are all things that yogis from thousands of years already know, right? We know this, but now Western medicine, we have been able to scientifically prove that these things exist. And so all the scientific minds out there can, feel like now there's a reason to, just like Chinese medicine, we're starting to learn more and more, but it's really fascinating. And so anyways, my whole point is that the body can affect the mind can affect the body. So if you don't want to go see a psychiatrist and talk about your issues and your stress, you just like not that kind of person. If you go into a yoga class, it's phenomenal. And it's what's kept me sane, I think, during COVID. So yeah.
I'd have to second that on the COVID sanity thing. I've been doing the same. I started teaching online and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I'm usually hands-on. Totally. But, and I think even for my teaching technique and skills, it's definitely improved because you've got to articulate a lot more so when you're not hands-on. But it's definitely kept me and the students that I've had a couple of times a week consistently, which is amazing. Pretty sane.
Yeah.
I love it, ladies. I love it. And for anyone that's listening or watching the replay, they've got 2 teachers here now that they can connect with and do yoga at home. So bang on for for an interview for anyone who is going a little bit crazy still, and we're not all out of the situation and it's still going on. So at the end of the day, it is something that can really go. But what a couple of my key points to take away from that was definitely I love, Christina, when you explained about how it's, your mind can affect your body and your body can affect your mind. And then Tracy, you said about, when you're on that yoga mat, no one else matters. And that's a really special thing to have, because in this day and age, we do get so bogged down and so consumed with what's going on. To be able to leave it all behind and jump on a yoga mat and learn to do that and just focus on you is massive. And it would be a benefit to everybody if they wanted to do it.
Yeah, and benefit the people around you after you do it.
Definitely. And I mean, like, they might want to do it then too.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So we've got about 15 minutes left. So we really want to talk to you ladies about what you're offering at the moment and where you are at your businesses. So Christina, you're still unmuted at the moment. So if you wanted to just run us through, just for anyone who might be watching it on the replay on Facebook or on YouTube, when I pop it on there, or they might hear on the podcast, what are you offering at the moment, and where can they reach out to you? Obviously, I'll grab the links from you guys and pop them in all the comments that I have. But yeah, if you want to have a chat about that.
Sure. So what I'm offering, I'm offering one-on-one coaching. So the health coaching based on what I had shared earlier, it's really about habit building and building that foundation for life. And I'm super committed to it, which is why I've recently changed my program. I mean, people can still do a 3-month, but I've extended it to 6 months because I really think people need the time. And we just meet for shorter periods of time, like 20-minute check-ins. Because we all need that. I know I need accountability like that. And that way, you can do your quick, okay, how are we with the water, et cetera. So I do a 6-month coaching program. We focus on what is, your overall goal, and we establish what can we do to build there. And just to be clear, you're not going to be at the end goal after 6 months because it's a lifelong journey. But you're definitely going to notice a difference. So I work one-on-one with clients. We do through Zoom, and I've also just recently started an online paid group program. So if finances are a little bit tight and you'd rather just work in a group environment, I do have that, where we have group coaching sessions every week. I also bring in experts to talk that are, more in depth of knowledge of than what I have in a particular subject. I also do lots of educational stuff. So this is also great for my one-on-one clients is I'll do videos, short videos based on like food, exercise, all mindset, all these things. So we don't waste our one-on-one coaching time. And then we have an online portal per se, basically. So the group, so if you're in my one-on-one, you automatically get access to the group program. And you also, if you're in my group program or my one-on-one, you get free yoga classes too, while you're my client. Yes. So I like to encourage that. So I have those two things. The group is called the Healthy Habits Tribe. And we just started recently and it's really, really been successful. People, it's a small group, which I like right now because everybody's super supportive, encouraging, and it allows people to feel comfortable enough to share. So I do ask people to share if they're comfortable. And I've had people go, I'm very uncomfortable with this, but I'm going to post it. And then you just get a lot of positive feedback and to know that everyone else is on the same page. And it gives that extra bit of motivation. So my one-on-one clients who are in the group program now really love that addition that I've added on. But I do believe that the one-on-one is really crucial. The group is good to get you going into, you know, the mindset, but the one-on-one will help you focus on targeted areas. So yeah, so it's, and like I said earlier, you don't have to have been diagnosed with some insane disease. It can be you're just not feeling right. Maybe you want to lose some weight, or energy is usually the big one with people. And just not, and actually the biggest one, because my clients are of the like, you know, late 30s on up, they want to be able to be there for their kids when they're older, to be able to walk, to be able to play, to be able to, you know, do physical movement. So I think that's a big thing. And you will definitely, if you follow the program and build these lifestyle habits, you'll definitely live a long and active life. Yeah, so my company's called My Wellness. And yeah, Jemima will put the groups in there, or the links in there. Yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, definitely 6 months, 3 months is a nice time, but 6 months sort of gives that a little bit extra support, just to make sure you're implementing those things, I feel. So that's a great offer. The extension there really is. Tracy, so what about yourself? What are you offering at the moment, beautiful? You're just on mute, babe.
So yeah, so I've got a couple of programs, one for parents of LGBT plus people and one for I guess anyone really, but you know, I guess my passion is about creating safe and inclusive spaces for the LGBT plus community and for everyone to feel, you know, included, safe, supported, all those things. So there's so I won't talk so much about the parents program, but it is there on offer to help them better understand their child and be able to be more supportive of their child, and also have that safe space for themselves to work through their own thoughts and emotions and that kind of thing. That's an 8-week program. And then it's called Reconnecting Families. I have Transform Your Heart, is also an 8-week program that I offer. And it basically takes you on a bit of a journey where you're essentially releasing any of those struggles and identifying them to gain some clarity. Then you get to the next step where you gain some compassion for yourself and potentially others if relationships are a struggle for you. And then being able to work your way around to reconciling any of those conflicting emotions or experiences that you've had to gain inner peace, I suppose, and really connect with your authentic self. So that 8-week program takes you on a bit of a journey. I do offer it one-on-one and a group. And I guess the group side of it is you get the benefit of the community to support you and people that may have had similar experiences, and you can kind of work through things together, and it's nice to have that sense of community. And then the one-on-one is more tailored to an individual specific needs. So I have the online portal where you get the content, which is pretty similar for both, but the sessions that you do with me are more tailored specifically to your needs. So they're the two things that I've mostly got going on at the moment. And I wanted to, Jemima, if it was okay to offer anyone who is interested, that is part of your tribe, to offer them a little bit of a discount. So I'm going to offer 20% off for the one-on-one programs, either one of them, if they let me know that they've come for either through your Facebook group or your YouTube or podcast. I'd be happy to do that.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I just want to say too, because I know that you are so passionate about this, that you don't have to be in a relationship, family, brother or sister, cousins or anything like that to want to understand this journey. You can have your reservations and not understand it and want to learn. So I just wanted to really say that, because I know how passionate you are about this. I know that you feel this way anyway, but just for anyone who is listening who might just maybe want to understand, how they can deal with it if it ever comes up, or maybe just work around their own feelings about the situation. That doesn't need to include anyone. At the end of the day, they want to make that progress and that connection of understanding, and growing themselves. That is something that you would welcome with open arms.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do have a Facebook community that encompasses all different areas of the community, and it is either people that are, mostly people who are wanting to understand more, or who are part of the LGBT plus community. But I've got lots of bits and pieces. I offer training and education for organizations, for individuals. Like, there's a whole bunch of things. So if people are interested in learning more, like you said, they don't have to have a family member, or it doesn't have to be connected to them. I'd be happy to have a chat and see what might be available for them. I have this tiny little kind of, I think it goes for about an hour and a half program that's $30. It's gives you the basics so that you can feel comfortable and not, I guess, anxious about saying the wrong thing or using the wrong language and those kinds of things. So yeah,
I love that you've covered that too, because we've progressed in a world where it's like I said before, we've got a long way to go. We've come a long way as well, but there is some people out there that would still struggle with, what to say, how to say it. And even though they might not actually say anything wrong, they might feel like they did. And then they'd be beating themselves up. And that's the last thing we ever want for anybody at the end of the day. So it's beautiful that you've actually covered that as well. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, I'll wrap it up now, unless you wanted to mention anything else. Did you want to say anything else at all?
No, that's it, I
No,
think.
just thank you for having us on, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share, and it was so nice to get to know you guys a little bit better. And Tracy, understand that we have so many things in common. Very interesting.
Yeah, isn't it?
You definitely do, which is amazing. So, but thank you both for taking time out of your day today. I know that it is late. Definitely, I'm not sure what time it is for you, Christina, but I do know it's about 10 o'clock down your way now, Tracy. So I really do appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome.
If you guys can shoot me those links, I will pop them onto into the actual feed thing. We call it post. There we go. Can't speak. It's late for me now too. And so then people don't have to scroll through or do anything. They can just click on if they resonate with you. I will probably, if it's okay with you girls, not girls, sorry, ladies. I might actually pop this on my actual feed, so out with my actual community on Facebook, and I might actually make it public. And the reason for that, I just think you both brought so much value here, and I really like to expose you both to everyone who might need you and might be able to resonate with you, or they might need you, in a way. So I'd really like to do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, beautiful ladies. Thank you so much again for joining me. I really do appreciate both you jumping on, and we do hope Karen gets better very soon.
Yes.
So I'll leave you guys with that now, but you have a wonderful night.